Hello, welcome back to the podcast, Be a Better Baddie. My name is Quenisha. I am your host, coach, teacher, and fellow baddie. If you're new here, welcome. And also, you picked the best episode to start with because we are going back to the basics of what it means to be a baddie. And if you are a returner, if you've been rocking with me for a minute, I'm sure we all could benefit from a refresher. Let's talk about what it means to be a baddie. I'm also going to drop a free resource at the end of this episode. If you're already nosy and you're clicking through the show notes or the YouTube description, then you can see that resource is there, but I'll talk about that a little bit later in our episode. I'm sure when you hear baddie on social media, you are thinking about someone that looks good, which I tried to look a little good today for you all. But I'm not talking about your body type or your makeup style or your clothes that you wear. I'm talking about who you are and how you present as a baddie. Being a baddie is a mindset, it is a state of being. It's about moving through your life with intention, with confidence, and being aware of who you are and where you're going. And here's what I've noticed. A lot of women do a great job of looking like a baddie on the outside, but they don't necessarily put that same effort into being a baddie on the inside. And that's exactly what made me create the baddie framework years ago. So there are 6 pillars, 6 letters. Baddie is for balanced, authentic, driven, deserving, iconic, and evolving. There are these 6 areas of your life, and if you're very intentional about them, then you will have no problem becoming the woman you want to be. So let's talk through each one. B is for balance. And I want to be very clear about what balance means. It doesn't mean showing up for every area in your life perfectly. It doesn't mean that your schedule is color coded and you give equal amounts of yourself to every person and every aspect of your life. That's not real. I'm sure we've all heard the term work-life balance. It's false. It's fake news, okay? Real balance is about being intentional about where your time and your energy goes because we are never going to get those things back. It means knowing what season you're in and honoring that. It also means that you cannot prioritize everything at the same time. Everything cannot get done at the same time. This is a big one for me. Something will always get more of you, and being a baddie, you are aware of that. You are aware that in this season, this particular thing is getting all of your time and energy. And that is a choice that you make, and that's a choice that you must be comfortable with. Protecting your energy is also a part of balancing things. Your time, your attention, your peace, your energy, all of those are resources, and you have to protect them and figure out where you want to allocate them for you to get the most bang for your buck. So when thinking about balance, I want you to think, where do you feel like you may be getting stretched thin right now in your life? And is that by choice or by default? When I think about that, I know that I've made an intentional choice to not be stretched thin by my 9 to 5 job. It's very easy for me as a remote worker to respond to an email that I see after 5 p.m. or on the weekends just because it's quick to do. But I refuse to give more time and stretch myself thin within my 9 to 5 job. When I'm clocked in, I'm doing what I need to do. I'm maximizing my time. I'm locked in. I'm focused. And I refuse to give them my extra time. I'm sorry. I have a business to build. Now let's go to A. A is for authenticity. A baddie knows who she is and she does not perform for approval. Now, I know that this is something that a lot of women struggle with, especially me, because we show up in many different spaces. The struggle is a lot of us feel like we need to show up as the same person in every room. But every room you are in does not call for all of your personality. Every room that you are in does not call for your full self. What this does mean is that every room that you're showing up in, you do feel aligned with yourself. You're not shrinking. You're not adjusting so that other people feel comfortable. You're not adjusting yourself to seek validation from other people. And that's where confidence comes in. So being authentic is feeling confident in who you are in all spaces and showing up as that person. It also means that you trust yourself so much and your intuition is so strong that you don't need a cosigner on your existence. When you start to show up as yourself, aligned with yourself, things start to feel easier. The right people come into your life and your circle. You start to attract the right opportunities. On the other hand, you also do lose people when you start to show up authentically because some of our interactions are based on convenience or comfort with people, our relationships with people. So when you start to show up authentically as yourself and it doesn't serve that other person anymore, then you may get into a little conflict because showing up as your most authentic self isn't always appealing, always isn't beneficial for other people. So when you show up authentically as yourself, yes, life will start to feel easier, but then you also have to be prepared for the inverse. What happens on the other side when you start to show up authentically as yourself? So I want you to stop and ask yourself, are there places in your life where you feel like you're showing up and performing instead of focusing on being present and being yourself? What are those spaces? What would happen if you stopped pretending in those spaces? Now we're moving into D. D is for driven. So a baddie knows what she wants and she takes action in getting it. Okay. This is the most important thing. Being driven is about not when I feel ready type of action or tomorrow type of action. It's about right now action. It's about what can you do today, right now, to get what you want. And you can clearly see this is my favorite pillar. And I'll say, as you're listening to this, there are some pillars that you will feel completely aligned with. You're going to be like, yes, this is for me. And there are other pillars where you're going to be like, oh, I actually don't do that a lot. I need to lean more into that. So I'll talk about at the end, again, what that free resource can help you with and what my strong pillars are and the pillars I need to grow in. I may have created the baddie framework, but that doesn't mean that I am a perfect baddie. We all have our strengths and our growth areas. So here's the truth that bothers a lot of people. Desire alone does not get you to where you need to be. You can desire to make six figures. You can desire to read more books. You can desire to go on all of these trips in a year, but without action, desire means absolutely nothing. You can want something more than anything in the world, and you will be disappointed by that desire because you don't have the follow through for it. You don't have the discipline for it. And that's exactly what this driven pillar is. And I think I'm really leaning into this with my 12-week planning goal sessions and my accountability group, being driven, because being a baddie is like the end goal, and setting goals and achieving goals is the vehicle to get there. So being driven is about consistency. It's about follow through, because if you decide to just rely on your motivation, that means tomorrow when you wake up and you don't feel like doing it and you don't do it because you don't feel motivated, it'll never get done. It's about the small building blocks every day. And I think this is really the core of baddie. It's right in the middle too, right? It's in the middle. So I think this is the core of being a baddie, because if you're not driven, then all of these other pillars mean nothing. You won't be balanced. You won't be authentic if you're not driven to do so. And to add this point, you don't have to have everything figured out to be driven, right? I always say take messy action, do it scared. You may not have the perfect plan. That's okay. Every action that you take is data collection to help you improve and become 1% better. Don't wait on the perfect opportunity to make progress. What is that saying? Perfection is the enemy of progress, because the biggest difference between the people who grow and the people who don't is simply action. It's simply who showed up, who did something. Because even if you get it wrong, you have data. I want you to think about where in your life have you been relying on motivation rather than committing to showing up for yourself. The second D stands for deserving. A baddie believes that she is worthy of good things. Full stop. That's it. This one should hit for most of us because a lot of us were raised or along the way, directly, indirectly, to think that we have to earn our worthiness, that we have to prove ourselves before we are allowed to live the life that we want. This goes into the way we view ourselves. What do we think that we deserve in this world? So before I recorded this video today, I guess I was in a bit of a pickle because I felt as though I woke up too late and I couldn't get through the day that I had perfectly planned in my head, which is still not a bad day. But in that moment, I didn't give myself grace. I didn't say, you slept in, like you do work a full-time job. You were out of town last week. Like, things don't go according to schedule. I didn't give myself grace. And for a split second, I didn't think that I deserved grace, which I do. I'm deserving of grace regardless of how hard I worked or what town I went out of or into. You know what I mean? But you have to believe that you do deserve better. And that is when things will start happening for you. This is when we start getting into the mindset thing. Because even if you set the most ambitious goal and you are driven, if you don't believe that you deserve to achieve that goal, then there's no reason to even pursue it. There's no reason. So when you start to believe that you deserve better, you start to act in that way, your standards raise and you meet those standards. And again, we go back into being aligned and being authentic. Then the people who come into your life and the opportunities that come your way are also within that standard that you've set for yourself. All the pillars are connected. You have to stop accepting things that do not serve you. You have to stop settling. And settling doesn't have to be this dramatic thing, right? Like when I think of settling, I think of like, oh, I decided to just work at Burger King. It was easier for me, even though I have a bachelor's degree and I am fully qualified to work in other places. It doesn't have to be that dramatic. It could sometimes be that I chose to stay in this job just because it's comfortable to me, even though it's comfortable to me, and I know it's draining. I know it's taking the life out of my soul, but this is just what I'm settling for. That's not what you deserve. You have to believe that you deserve better and you can do better for yourself to even put forth the action in doing so. Stop playing small with yourself when you know you're capable of so much more. Stop thinking small. You need to be thinking big. So, your reflection question for this is I want you to think, where in your life are you settling for less than you deserve? And what would be different if you truly believed you deserved more? Every time I've made a major shift in my life, it was because I believed I deserved more. And I was able to achieve that next step because of the belief, not just because of the goal setting. The goal setting, of course, played a major role in it, but you can always set a goal, like I said before, and not believe in it, and it's not going anywhere. You have to believe in yourself. It doesn't matter what everyone else around you thinks, right? If they don't think you deserve it, that's on them. What do you think you deserve? You go for it. Next is I, and I is for iconic. Now, before you think this is about being famous or having a huge following, newsflash, it is not. Okay. I am iconic and I have about 300 followers on my Be a Better Baddie page, okay? And I'm still an icon. Being iconic is about owning your presence and the way that you carry yourself and the energy you bring into a room when you enter. Iconic people move with confidence, they move with clarity, they take up space without apologizing for it. You have to know your voice. You have to know that your voice matters. You have to know that your ideas matter. You have to know that your perspectives matter. I think this also plays into like your personal brand. Like, who are you? You don't become iconic by just copying other people. You become iconic by leaning completely into who you are. Your specific experiences, your specific perspectives, and your specific personality is a combination that no one else has in this world. So why would you want to try and be someone else? I feel like TikTok world is all about copying, right? What are we wearing this summer? Here's the it girl fashion for the summer. Blah, 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 blah. They're not iconic. And you are iconic because you are a baddie. It is about fully stepping into who you are and owning. So what I want you to think about for being iconic is if I fully owned my presence, business, relationships, friendships out in the world, how would I show up differently? And finally, we are at E, and E is for evolving. A baddie is committed to growth, and she is willing to release the older versions of herself to step into the newer version of herself. I think about my podcast evolution. My podcast started as QT with the pod, where I just talked about a whole bunch of random topics because I felt like talking. And over time, I was like, hey, there are people listening to this, and I actually do have something here. So that's when I started to build Be a Better Baddie into a brand and things of that sort. And it is still evolving and it will constantly evolve. Right now, I'm in the middle of that evolution. This one requires the most courage because growth isn't just about adding new things to your life or becoming this new version, because as you bring in the new, you have to get rid of the old. So it's about shedding your old layers, shedding your old habits, your old ideas. And that's not me saying there's something wrong with the old version of you or who you are right now. But as we grow, ideas changed Your actions reflect that, and that is okay. There are going to be people who say, "You've changed." You're supposed to change. You are supposed to change. Now, there's a difference in your values completely changing or you becoming a horrible person, right? But if your change is old habits, old beliefs, old identities that made sense at one point but no longer make sense for you right now in this moment in your life, that is okay, and that is what you were supposed to do. At some point in your life, those versions of you made sense, but it can get to a point where those things hold you back. Every level of your life requires you to unlock it, right? Just like a video game. When you go to a new level, and maybe the powers that worked in the last level aren't as effective in this level. So now you have a new power, and now you need to learn how to use it to beat the villain and get to the end again, right? Life is about levels. What you need for each level is different. That's it. We're not meant to stay the same forever, and our goal is to evolve. The world is evolving, evolve along with it. So now I want you to think about what old habits, beliefs, or identities are you holding on to that don't serve you anymore? Now that we've talked through all 6 pillars, you probably heard some and you were like, this one I do really well. This one, not so well. Clearly, when I got to driven, I was so excited. I was like, yes, like this is my bread and butter. I love it. And that reaction is your starting point. So, which one hit the hardest for you? Was it balance? Was it evolving? Was it being iconic? Which one did made you feel like, I am a baddie? That's me. This is where I want to offer you the 6-day baddie audit. And it's exactly what it sounds like. You are going to have 6 days to go through each pillar, fully explore it, lean into it that particular day, and reflect on it. Each activity should take you around, I would say, 20 minutes for the full day. After listening to this episode, you probably have an idea of what your superpower pillar is, or which one you can lean into easily and authentically. And then you also have that pillar where you need to grow in it, right? It's not necessarily natural to you. It is something that you need to think about. And this is the one that needs most of your attention right now. So when you go through the audit, you will see that particular pillar. And I want you to think about that particular day even strong. For me, my growth pillar is balance because I am addicted to a color coded calendar. I do feel like I can do it all in one day. And I feel like I need to do it all in one day. But I need to still come to terms with, if I do everything in one day, then everything will be done horribly. I need to lean into one thing that particular day or whatever the time frame is, but balance is the one I struggle with. And that kind of self-awareness is the foundation for everything. So if you are ready to explore those 6 pillars in your everyday life, you can grab that freebie right now in the description. Just enter your email and then you will receive it. This 6-day audit is just the foundation of Be a Better Baddie, right? Figuring out where you stand, what pillar you need to work on, what pillar you are already excelling in. From there, the baddie sphere expands. I have the Better Baddie experience, which is 12-week goal setting. And right now I've been doing it in person, and I am going to add some virtual options as well because there are more baddies than the baddies in Houston. And the Better Baddie experience is essentially me taking the baddie framework and also the 12-week year goal setting framework, combining them, and we come together, set ambitious goals, create your entire 12-week plan, and think about what success really means for you at the end of that. Now, if you want to level up within that, I have the Baddie Circle, and this is the accountability group that accompanies the goal setting. Because after you set the goals, right, then what? You need to have an accountability group. You need to have these check-ins because it's so easy for life to happen, even with the current 12-week cycle that I'm going through right now. Life is happening and goals are just passing me by. Time is slipping away. But being in the Baddie Circle is more than an accountability group. I see it as a peer advisory board. I am bringing together a curated group of women, high achieving, driven, who are always there for other people, who can always succeed when it comes to doing things for other people, but when it comes to themselves, they can't show up. When it comes to follow through, that's where they struggle, right? You have these strong desires, like I said, but if you don't have the follow through and the consistency, it doesn't matter. I'm building this group of women for that reason. I'm also building this group of women because sometimes you just don't know. Hearing from other women about how they maneuver through life, how they got to where they got, or what they've heard from other people, like having that network is so important for us first gen girlies. So if you don't know what questions to ask, but you feel like you're capable of more, you feel like you're in rooms where you can't necessarily celebrate your wins because you feel like you're bragging. You're surrounded by people who don't quite get what you're building and what goal you're pursuing. Or you've always figured everything out on your own and you're tired of figuring out on your own. These events, these spaces, this community is for you, okay? This is what we are doing as baddies. We are figuring it out together and we are elevating to the next level. So, start with the audit. Come back and tell me what the audit taught you. After the 6 days, go through the full 6 days. I'm genuinely curious and I want to hear from you all. That is it for today. If this episode resonated with you, please share with a friend. I would also appreciate a review, a like, a comment, depending on what platform you're listening to, because this is going to help more women discover the podcast and join this beautiful baddie community. And remember, you are not only becoming a better baddie, you are already one. I will be back in 2 weeks with another episode for you all. Until then, I hope you have a positively productive, self-loving day. Bye.